Going beyond the headlines. Asking the questions you want answered. Exploring government policies and how they impact you. We are delving deeper.
Good evening and welcome to Delving Deeper. I am Sonolala filling in for Ayana Carter. Joining us this evening is Mr. Calvin Maurice. He's the Chief Executive Officer of the National Entrepreneurship Development Company Limited, better known as NEDCO. Good evening, Mr. Maurice, and welcome to the show.
Good evening, Sunil.
So NEDCO, not to be mistaken with NEDCO, is an agency established to provide assistance to micro and small enterprises and so on. How is NEDCO contributing to the development and success of these MSCs?
Well, central to the core. As you know, since 2002, NEDCO has been established and incorporated as a state agency responsible for the development of our micro-entrepreneurs. And not just our micro-entrepreneurs, but those who do not have the capacity or the ability to get into business on their own. So NEDCO key responsibility is to support the unbankable female entrepreneurs who may have issues, young, particularly as we fall under the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service, all the disenfranchised groups. So therefore, we will bring to a level playing field for persons who want to get into entrepreneurship.
Now, there are a number of new youth-focused groups set to begin soon. Among them, a Youth Entrepreneurship Hub. Tell us more about this.
The Youth Entrepreneurship Hub, as you quite rightly said, among many others, would look at providing information for primarily young persons, but anyone who is into entrepreneurship. The ecosystem as it relates to starting up a business, all the different agencies, understanding all the different agencies and networks that they will be required to engage in starting their own business. So it's a support system. So these persons who are interested to start a business will be very much aware they can walk in a space and get information, whether through digital means or whether through interfacing with state agencies directly to understand what they may be required to do to start up their small business venture.
Do you think there are enough people that are aware of NEDCO and what it does to help businesses prosper?
Well, this said program is supporting that, and we've had many other initiatives over the last few years, particularly in getting information out there. And we are also looking at other forms of promotion and marketing strategies to allow the public to understand that, just exactly that, what is required to get a NEDCO loan. Having gotten a NEDCO loan, how do you sustain it? What are the consequences of getting a loan and not paying the NEDCO loan? How can we support you as it relates to if you're getting problems with repaying the NEDCO loan? So all these questions will be answered through a number of marketing strategies so our public will understand that NEDCO is here to support.
You talk about the Youth Entrepreneurship Hub. People at that young age, when they're going into business and so on, how easy it is for them to get a loan, and how many people have we seen apply for this at that young age?
The challenge with young persons getting a loan is simply they don't have collateral, they do not have any credit history. And it brings us to the point of another initiative that speaks to giving a grant to young persons, particularly young persons, to start up their businesses. And that will be rolling out in 2024, fiscal year 2024. And our Honorable Minister, Forster Cummins, made many announcements about that grant. But it's linked to this particular question. So therefore, it allows the entrepreneur, the young entrepreneur, to have funds to start up, whether they wish to put that $20,000 directly into a business and start it, but also if they wish to use it in any other way to aid them, all right, to start that business. It will be, I must say, it will be strictly monitored in terms of how the fund is used for purpose. And there is a clear guideline on what it can be used for and what it cannot be used for. At the end of the day, we'll want to ensure that 1,000 entrepreneurs benefit from this opportunity. And it's exactly that. Young persons who claim they have no money, and when they come to us to provide collateral, they will also get an opportunity to start up based on that as well. And when you talk about credit history, we'll also give them an opportunity to build credit history, whether they want to engage NEDCO or any other financial institution. They will be given that opportunity to build a credit history so they could continue with the development of their business.
I was just about to ask you about, checks and balances, because we see grants all over, even from the Ministry of Sport. We see grants being given to community groups, to athletes, and, they have certain checks and balances that they have to submit as well. How does NEDCO foresee this, and how do you ensure that the checks and balances are there?
Oh, we have a rigorous system, one of which the business must be registered, first must be registered. And the individual will be required to have a background or understanding of the business they're operating. And in giving the grant, it's not just, here, look, $20,000. No, we are going to do an assessment of the entrepreneur and provide the entrepreneur with whatever support they require, whatever gap is established. They may need training and development. So therefore, we'll have a 3-week training program to bring them up to speed. They'll have to prepare a business plan. And it's upon doing that business plan, the grant will be given. So there are a number of steps that must be taken before the grant is given. And after the grant is given, we would provide business advisory. We'll provide mentorship to ensure that the money is utilized in the way that it was intended to. So there are a number of mechanisms to ensure, and there's a responsible mechanism, because we understand the challenges of the entrepreneur, and we understand that we would need to hold their hands, but also not to restrict their dream. So therefore, it's a way of working together with them to ensure that the dreams are realized.
Break it down for us in terms of, I know you help the small and the micro entrepreneur. What is the micro entrepreneur? How is it different to the small? And basically, how many micro entrepreneurs have you seen come for a loan as opposed to the small entrepreneurs as well?
Well, essentially, NEDCO is responsible for entrepreneurs who do not earn more than $1 million on an annual basis. So let's start with that. Micro entrepreneurs, and you have micro entrepreneurs, will come in different forms. So you like the Nutsman, for example, is a micro entrepreneur. And then you have levels in terms of persons who will want a loan for $50,000 and will satisfy the means of their business. And as you grow towards the various categories of SMEs, you will find that businesses that to the value of $250,000, earning $500,000 and it grows. So therefore, the SME sector, it's formed in various categories, and it's based on the number of employees as well that they will have. So this assessment is rigorously done in our loans department or the branches to assess where they are and to assess how we can support wherever they are in the scale of operations.
It's funny you brought out the Nutsman, because I was just about to ask you, how difficult is it? I mean, a Nutsman and even a doubles vendor sometimes may not be a registered business.
Right.
How possible is it for even a Nutsman, a snowcone man, a doubles vendor to apply for a loan, and have you seen that happen?
Well, you have sole traders, and someone can apply for a loan in their own name. But we encourage entrepreneurs to register their business. But we recognize a sole trader, okay, and a Nutsman can fall in the category of a sole trader. Based on the type of business you operate, I think NEDCO always will provide the type of legal structure that's required by that particular entrepreneur. So example, say a nutsman or a doubles vendor. You wouldn't expect them to have a limited liability company with board of directors. It's not needed unless you're selling real nuts, right? Or you're one of those bigger companies. So it's recognized based on the practicality of it and the reality of what's going on with that particular business.
When is the point in time when an entrepreneur would say, I want to go to NEDCO, and when is the opportune time for them to do so?
First of all, the businessman or the entrepreneur must have equity in the business. And so there are many points of entry to NEDCO. One would have started a business, operating business for a number of years by purchasing their own equipment, providing in terms of whatever financial input into their business. And then they reach a stage they want to grow. So they will come into NEDCO and say, here's what. We want to expand this business further. That's one stage. The other stage is just a startup, and that is very particular to the young person who would not have any form of equity per se, but will have, probably certified, for example. They may leave university and they may have a good idea of how to run a business, and they want to start a business and they come into NEDCO. There may be a period of training and development, and that is why we recognize that there's a gap and there's need for the whole grant arrangement, because most times those persons who want to start up have nothing in it. But it also is an avenue if they have family to support them, and sometimes that's how they generally start up. So therefore, if they have to provide equity, or they have to provide part of the financing, their aunt, their uncle, their mother, their father may provide them and support them in that regard. So there are many different possible entries as it relates to getting involved. But very important, the entrepreneur must have equity in terms of getting a loan in NEDCO.
The last time you were here, you spoke about the millions owed to NEDCO. How are you recovering those funds?
Oh, quite well. We're really growing apace with it. There are two ends to that. NEDCO would have recovered based on historic issues in terms of default and delinquent loans over the years. Since the new board in 2015 took over, and then we have most recent reappointed board, there has been a different strategy as it relates to loans, whether default or delinquent, and a more stringent management of it. In 2019, though there would have been a recovery arrangement in NEDCO, we instituted what you call the credit risk department, which will also have a recovery unit. There are two functions in the credit risk department. One, to review all loans and understand the risk of these loans and mitigate and provide the different type of collateral required for those loans. And there's the other function of recovery. Those loans that went into default, they are pursued aggressively so. So over the years, NEDCO, in terms of recovered loans, there are two avenues. One, the loans that the credit risk department will directly pursue, and others where we'll have agencies also collect on the debt to NEDCO. Now, I know in the public space there are a lot of conversation about the bad debt of NEDCO, and probably, particularly when we went to the Public Accounts Committee, it was all over. $66 million in debt, NEDCO, and it's in the context that I just spoke about in terms of debt over the period since 2002, and we had to treat with it. The accumulation of debt has been significantly reduced. That's one, all right? All financial institutions, point to note, they have to deal with debt, that type of delinquent and default loans. They all do. But we have successfully done so when we look at the measure in terms of what's our non-performing loans at this point in time, it's just about 6%. The national or the best practice globally is 5%, you know, and we have been moving forward aggressively on that. I'll tell you another thing. In 2024, we intend to also have in the credit risk department a due diligence unit that will look at loans that come in default from 90 days onward. And why I say 90 days? Portfolio at risk is normally measured at 180 days, and they go into recoveries. And we are saying, no, okay, let's revisit that. Let's start holding hands from 90 days when they are going towards that 180 days. And there'll be specific measures to hold hands a little tighter. So therefore, clients would not have a problem in terms of going into default, going into recoveries. We have to repossess their stuff, and it becomes a horrible experience. That's one. And on the other side of it, trying to support clients not to reach 90 days. So the branches will now also have a support system where we go out to the client and we try to work with them, we try to train them, we try to develop them so they would not reach over 90 days. So on both sides of the scale, that whole delinquency and default arrangement is meticulously managed. So a little point to note, NEDCO clients are clients that no financial institution will want because of the said reason stated when I opened. They are unbankable, they are a special group that are not in the position to start a business. So it takes a measure of training, development, and specialization. And I always talk about the staff at NEDCO, people talk about loans, and they forget to add business loans. It's not a personal loan. You go for a personal loan, you have a salary, you have an account somewhere for security, and all these things are in place. For a business loan, it's very important for those assessing the loan must understand the risk of that business, the sustainability of that business, and the capacity of the entrepreneur to repay that loan. Because by all intent and purposes, it's not a salary will pay it, though you will have persons who would have a part-time business, and we do recognize that. But by all intent and purposes, the business should be the entity to repay that loan. So in terms of that whole arrangement with default loans and delinquent loans, our target for 2023 has been $4 million. And we have very much met that target. But let's not talk about low delinquency alone. Let's look at the good side, persons who access loans. Our target for 2023 would have been just over $22 million. Sunil, we surpassed that. We surpassed that. And the good thing is, one, default is low, and lending is high. And any financial agency, that's a good ratio to be. And in 2024, we look forward to have even grander in terms of when we look at the type of promotions and the type of opportunities we provide to the entrepreneurs to sustain and to start their business. Make it easier for them to get a loan and also to sustain a loan.
No, I know you went on the good side, but I just want to go back on the bad side for
So you
1
like
second.
the bad side. You like the bad side, Sunil.
When you talked about basically holding hands with the clients and so on, the people who's getting these loans, it sort of remind me of that IMF program on a less, basically on a less intense scale, holding hands with them and trying to get them to go through that entire process. Do you think they would be somewhat afraid of that, or somewhat scared of this holding hands? And what are you trying to do to help them through that process?
getting in business is always a scary thing. Going in a business and sustaining a business is never an easy road. And there are times when you laugh and you're smiling and going to the bank, and there are times when you're sleeping and you're getting up and you're making notes how to get out of this. Along the road, there's always that, that fear. Is the nature of business. What we do is, if you are trained and you understand what are the key tools to be used in your business, it will help you to be more confident and manage your business in a better way. And that's the first thing we do in terms of one, business advisory, but not only business advisory. Coming out of the business advisory is training and development. Very critical, hand in hand. Tools like cash flow analysis. You know, I remember sitting in a class one time doing a session and doing a cash flow budget. And so we started with $100,000 and everybody was smiling. Oh, $100,000, we're rich. And then we started to look at expenditure and we started to look at income and decided to say, oh, Mr. Maurice, stop, slow down, all our money going. Because entrepreneurs believe when they have a certain amount of money, it is to spend on all type of frivolous stuff. And the tool of the cash flow budget, it allows you to know how much you could spend. When can you spend that? Can I spend it in January? What type of profit or surplus do I have in regards to that type of funding, that type of money? So what's the profit? What's your profit? What are you working with? How much funds can you actually take out to buy a refrigerator or a flat screen television? You know, when can you realize that funding? When can you realize that surplus? So all the tools that we give them, they can make that analysis and therefore make better decisions in their businesses. So now we have trained over 2,000 entrepreneurs in this 1 year, which will impact. If you look at employment with regards to that, it may have impacted 3 by 2, 6,000 individuals in some way or the other in regards to better business management and sustainability. When we talk about hand-holding, that's what we mean. Even after we have gone through all that, you have mentorship. So persons in the various fields of endeavor that the entrepreneur may be in, we would hire them, let them come in, and also let them work with the entrepreneur for a number of months or so to give them that guideline. We should talk about the BAP program before we finish this interview as well.
I know you mentioned that you have reduced the debt. Can you give us a percentage or a figure of how much you've reduced it by?
Let's just say that I'll have to just go back and think through the numbers. But let's just give an example. In terms of clients going into default, I'll use that as a measuring stick. So if I told you that we gave $20 million in loan over a period, clients going to default during that period, a given period, may be just as, let's say, 50 or somewhere between 30 to 40, amounting to just about $1 million per se. And those loans, they're going to default, but because we have the recovery arrangement, they're paying on it, you know. So yes, you would have, as I said, any financial institutions will have default loans, but it is significantly less.
In terms of the new youth-focused projects, tell us some of the other projects to fall under this initiative.
Okay, so therefore, we talked about Entrepreneurial Hub, that's one. We talk about the grant, micro grant for entrepreneurs. Then you have what you call a quality program that we, in partnership with TTBS that gives an opportunity for entrepreneurs to go through a quality development program. So when they do their production, they do it at a particular level and quality. So not only for the local market, they would meet export demands. So that's one program. Then we have the business incubator that we would be setting up in various regions where persons who wish to start their businesses will be given space to do various type of businesses, to do their research and development, to look at various avenues of business, new ideas, innovation, and we'll provide the various agency support. So at this point, we're in partnership with Kuriri. So therefore, you'll find you'll have Kuriri coming and joining us for them to do the different type of product development. So we look at technology, we look at the food and beverage industry. So you look at the various sectors, and certainly in link with the diversification plan that the government has for Trinidad and Tobago. So that's another one. We have another initiative that deals with setting up a learning management system. So entrepreneurs, always busy, never have any time. And the learning management system will give an opportunity for entrepreneurs to access training anytime, night or day. Will also give them the opportunity to be assessed on their own time. And so the LMS system is certainly for a different intervention strategy. So that also is one of the key programs we're going to have in 2024. So all these programs, Sunil, is specifically designed in terms of, you will see the real benefit and fruits of what we're doing now in the next 5 to 6 years, as you see a group of this generation who are entrepreneurs. And it sets a standard, an example for the younger ones to start their own business. 20 years ago, 21 years ago, high risk aversion. Persons not getting into business because they want to get a job. They want to get a government job. They want to go in the private sector. Life easy. They get paid every month. They play mass every year. They get a pension, all right? That culture is changing, and that culture is changing slowly. And that culture is changing because of the thrust the government is making and NEDCO is doing in regards to making persons, particularly young persons, more aware of business. And the benefit of this is with only scale over the next few years to come. Sunil, may I ask, do you want me to talk about 10 to 18? Because, we focus on 18 and over, but you have those young persons who in schools, secondary, primary schools, who you will also want to take a career path to entrepreneurship. And NEDCO is also having an intervention there. We have a number of NGOs and agencies who are going into schools and who are doing entrepreneurial programs in schools, and NEDCO support them. We are in about a month, next month, starting a program with University of the West Indies Open Campus in terms of one of their digital entrepreneurship programs, where they will have a particular intervention, and it's a pilot project, but nonetheless it's an intervention into the primary and secondary schools. And it gives, therefore, a nice transition when they become of age to really start a business. They'll be very much aware in terms of how to start a business. You had long-time junior achievers who would have gone to schools and done programs. You had programs, you had junior cooperatives that went into schools and do programs. So there's a sensitization at that level in terms of how to deal with money, how to become financially aware of financially inclusive. Because financial inclusion is a big buzzword now, but it's a big buzzword now, particularly for the young. And NEDCO is in line, is in stream to make sure from 10 to 100, long as you could walk, long as you could continue a business. You have a number of centurions now, you know. Long as you could sustain it, we are there to support.
This 10 to 18 age group, is this the baby program you were talking about?
Well, it's an initiative through agencies and through NGOs. Our primary thrust in NEDCO will be 18 and over, but because there is a need to look at that group, we facilitate that program through other agencies and NGOs.
What are some of these success stories you can tell us about NEDCO and some of the challenges faced as well?
Well, the success stories are our inroad into the various sectors. And if you looked at our Entrepreneurial Award, you'd have seen just a sample group, a very small sample group in the various areas: women, environment, technology. And the successes are in those areas because we are now focused on developing these entrepreneurs as in terms of the various sectors. And we have a number of success stories, and we can have probably a focus on that separately at one time. But that has started through our award program, NEDCO's award, as we monitor and we build these various sectors. That's critical for the economy of Trinidad and Tobago. And if that's not a success, I don't know, because certainly NEDCO has to play a vital role in the infrastructure in terms of the economic development of the entrepreneurs so they can give back in whatever way through their businesses to Trinidad and Tobago.
NEDCO would have received about $28 million in the last fiscal year. Can you say if this was enough? I know it's never enough, but can you say if this is enough and what can we expect from NEDCO going forward?
NEDCO has taken a course that in our strategic development, we have taken a course to make ourselves sustainable over a number of years. And our desire is to have less dependency on the government of Trinidad and Tobago year after year. So there is a requirement by the organization to meet a target in regards to our loan portfolio on an annual basis, based on what I just told you. We surpassed our target in the strategic objective for 2023 in terms of where we need to meet. If we have that turnover in terms of the loan portfolio, then the earnings from interest can also provide the sustainable measure for NEDCO, and we have been doing that successfully. The funding given to NEDCO for 2023 has been well used, Sunil. When you look at some of the programs, the intervention in terms of the community, NEDCO has been all over in terms of selling to the entrepreneurs that they have an opportunity to get into business. So we have been from Toko to Komoto. We have been from Diego Martin to Arima. And we have been in every space, in the markets, in every space in terms of selling what NEDCO can offer. The other area is, just as I said, Entrepreneurial Week. That was a massive program in the month of August that we gave to the public. Free training to a number of entrepreneurs, workshops, seminars, free of charge. And then we have the Entrepreneurial Award. And so you have all these things coming together, and NEDCO being in everything. And basically, that's what's helped sustain us in doing these things in regards to our subvention. But just as we develop entrepreneurs, we have to develop ourselves as well. And our goal, Sunil, is to become less dependent on government. That is our primary goal. So over the years, and coming to your show, this is the second time I've come to this particular program. Next time I come, I will even tell you, here's what, Sunil, we are now using less funds from the government because we are making more money on our own, okay?
Mr. Maurice, thanks very much for joining us on Delving Deeper. I'm sure we could agree that, the entrepreneurship is basically getting to that backbone of the economy, to become that backbone of the economy and doing much better.
Oh, thank you very much, Sunil. I'm sure with your support in getting information out there, you'll be also helping NEDCO in doing our making and meeting our vision.
Join us at the same time next week for another episode of Delving Deeper. I am Sonolala, and on behalf of the entire crew, have a great night.